Hey everybody, and welcome back to some more Botania Gardens of Glass. We're back, and we now have a Rod of the Lands and a Rod of the Seas that we acquired at the end of last episode, allowing us to place down a near infinite amount of dirt and water. And today I want to utilize both of these rods to set up a couple of cool automated systems. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I would like to move somewhat away from only using Endo Flames as our primary and sole source of mana generation, because whilst they're good, they're also a little bit tedious to work with, especially at this early stage in the game when we don't have what it takes to automate these properly. And so what I want to start with in today's episode is a new source of mana, and that new source of mana is the Hydrangea, which is another flower from Botania, much like the Endo Flame, but instead of requiring a solid source of fuel in order to be able to generate mana, the Hydrangeas passively generate mana if they are placed near a water source. They do take a source block of still water, but if you have a fully unlimited source of water set up, then that piece of water will automatically get replaced, and they will essentially work for free, generating power using an unlimited source of water. Now, if you look in here, it does say the amount of mana they produce is comparable to the Endo Flame, so they produce about as much mana as the Endo Flame does without requiring any fuel. The caveat is, at the bottom here, Hydrangeas are a fleeting flora and will decay after 1 hour of real-world time. So, approximately once every episode, we're going to have to remake the Hydrangeas if we would like to continue to use them. What will most likely happen is I'll just make them before I start an episode, and then we'll go. Thankfully, they are super easy to make. If we look at the recipe for the Hydrangea, it is quite simply 2 mystical blue petals and then 2 mystical cyan petals, making them incredibly easy to make and an incredible source of early game mana once you have that unlimited source of water, which we now do thanks to the Rod of the Seas. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grab some blue flowers, going to grab some cyan flowers. We're going to craft pretty much all of these into petals, because I would like really as many of these as we can get. It looks like we can craft up 5 right now, at least without crafting up any more cyan flowers. And it probably also makes sense for us to move our petal apothecary up to our unlimited water source. What we should really do probably is move the unlimited water source to somewhere else. I am going to make a bucket here because we are going to need one in today's episode to move some water around. And if we come up here, we can quite simply throw this down, I guess, maybe right about here. We should really move the water source, but also move the pumpkin farm. This is not really the best place on our platform to be growing pumpkins, but that's fine. Let us grab a bunch of seeds, and then if we head on back up here, we should be able to make 5 hydrangeas here super quickly. I might just make 4 for the time being, because that's kind of one block of water. If I show you again, in the Lexicon Botania, it does show this setup here as a basic way to set up basically unlimited hydrangea power. This 3x3 body of water here with the hydrangeas in the corner will never run out of water. The water will constantly be replenished, and the hydrangeas will just keep producing mana until they eventually decay after 1 hour of real world time. And so all we have to do, throw these in like so, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then boom. And for those who don't know, with the Petal Apothecary, what you can do is if you've just done a flower craft and you want to make the same flower again, you can double right click with an empty hand, and it will automatically put all of the petals that you just used, or all of the ingredients that you just used out of your inventory, if you have them, into the Petal Apothecary again. So all you have to do is throw in a seed, grab a bucket, put it in, double click with the right hand, drop in another seed, rinse and repeat until you are entirely done. It even looks now like you don't even have to do a double right click, just one right click. Yeah, we'll put all the flowers in. We are now out of cyan petals, and so we can't make too many more just yet. But what I want to do in today's episode is start to complete one of the challenges in the Lexicon Botania. If we go back to the main page here, the first challenge in the easy section is the flower farm. Create an automated farm of all 16 colors of Botania flower, bonus points if the flowers are sorted. I don't think we're going to get to sorting them today, but I definitely think that we can set up an automated farm that grows the flowers and then harvests them and drops them into a chest. So we are going to need quite a lot of dirt, but for now 4 should do just fine. I am going to eat probably these apples, and also we should really start eating something that's not zombie brains, especially now that we've got all of this bone meal and all of those wheat seeds. We could make something like bread super easily, but nevertheless, if we come on over to here, I've set up a little area just like in the Lexicon Botania. We can put down some dirt in the 4 corners, just like all of the other flowers in Botania. The hydrangeas do require that they be placed on dirt, and so we do something like this, like this and like that, and then we can throw down our 4 hydrangeas. In a second, I'm gonna wait till like the very last moment to place those down because, as you saw with the Lexic of Botania, we do only have an hour. I think once they're placed down, I don't think it's like an hour of active time. I think you have 1 hour just in total, so they go down, and then you have 60 minutes, although that is just kind of speculation on my part. I'm not 100% certain on how the hour is calculated. If you know, let me know in the comment section down below, but what we're going to do now, we'll do this. Because I'm a little bit lazy, I'm going to do this, but I can't do that because I don't have my Manna Tableau, and so instead, the game is forcing me to not be lazy. We'll come back over here. We will pick up our Manna Tableau, which I think is in over here. It is. We'll take that. I did get a little bit more mana in this mana pool because I think we're going to need that fairly shortly. I'm not quite sure how many times we can use both of these rods with the little bit of mana that we have in our Manna Tableau right now. Specifically because we're going to have to use the Rod of the Lands a very, very large number of times. Because you'll notice that I have filled in quite a bit of the gap that was in the floor here between episodes with yet more cobblestone. And I know it doesn't look great. It's very same and very drab. But it's really the only thing that we can make our platforms out of right now. But I've left an area in the middle here that I'm going to fill with dirt. And so we're going to have to use the Rod of the Lands about 81 times, I think. I'm pretty sure this is 9 by 9 in order to fill in that area there. So I am a little bit dubious about using all of the mana in our Manna Tablet just yet. But we can do this. That's going to create an unlimited source of water. And so now I'm going to very quickly see just how much mana or just how many pieces of dirt we can place down with the amount of mana that we have in our Manna Tablet. And the answer is quite a lot. We actually got all of that down without running out of mana in the Manna Tablet, which is great. And I'm going to put one more down right smack bang in the middle, which I think is like right there. Yeah. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to craft up the Jaded Amaranthus, which is this flower over here. Not quite as easy as the Hydrangea to craft, but fairly simple. It's another redstone root, which is just the grass and the redstone. We've done it before. Mystical purple petal, a lime petal, a green petal, and then a Rune of Spring, which is, again, a little bit more tricky. It requires wheat, 3 saplings, a Rune of Fire, and a Rune of Water. Thankfully, we already have a Rune of Water, and I'm also fairly certain that in crafts like this, I will get the Rune of Water and the Rune of Fire back. When you use runes to craft more runes in the runic altar, you get the runes back. I think we said rune a lot, and I'm fairly certain that that's how that works. I guess we're about to find out. So we need to craft up a Rune of Fire. Thankfully, this is a super easy recipe to do. Much like the rest of them, it requires a mana steel ingot and a mana powder, as well as some nether wart, some gunpowder, and some nether brick, all of which we have now thanks to our trip in the nether last episode. So we'll take you, we'll smelt up one of you, we'll grab some gunpowder out of here, we'll throw you in there, we'll take the 3 iron, drop one of those into the mana pool as well as the gunpowder. That gets us the mana steel and the mana powder. Let's go boom, boom, boom. What else do we need? Do we need another gunpowder? We do. We need one more gunpowder, and then, of course, the nether brick that should be cooking up and should be done any second now. We'll take one of you, and then we'll grab you, and then the nether brick, and we should be good to go. I'm hoping we've got enough mana inside of here. I think we should. And again, we're also going to need another living rock, which I believe I put in the Botania chest between episodes. I tried to organize the chests a little bit. They're still a bit of a mess, but they're a bit better than they were last episode, where they were kind of horribly atrocious. But we'll do this. We'll do this. That gets us the Rune of Fire. And so now we should actually somewhat easily be able to complete this craft for the Rune of the Spring. Is it? Yeah, the Rune of the Spring. So 1, 2, 3 saplings, 1 piece of wheat, and then we'll throw those down over here, and then we should be good to go. And like I said, I am almost certain, unless something has changed between versions of Botania that I'm not aware of, that we should get back the 2 runes that we put in there. It makes making those higher tier runes so much easier, which is really nice, because in the future, when we want to craft a large amount of Botania flowers, we don't need to craft that many Jaded Amaranthus, but in the future, we are going to have to craft up quite a large number of certain flowers. Yeah, look at that, we got all the runes back. And being able to craft up the higher tier runes without losing the lower tier runes is really nice. It means we don't have to go through all the grind for making all of the lower tier runes every single time we want to make like a new flower, which is cool. So now that we've got that, we need lime, green, and purple, all of which we should have. Purple, green, and lime. I didn't want 2 of any of those, but that's fine. Craft that up. Craft that up and craft that up. And then finally, we need 1 piece of redstone as well as our shears and possibly a piece of bone meal because I'm not quite sure if we've got any grass left up there, although I did see a flower and so I'm fairly certain we will have some. We do indeed. Take this, craft those up together like so. That gets us the living root. And so finally, we should now be able to go boom, 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 and boom. Yep, and then finally, kapow, and that gets us the Jaded Amaranthus. And this flower is basically a flower that produces flowers. What it does is it will take mana from a nearby mana pool, and I also did not light up the platform, and so we do have 1 mob. Let me quickly just throw down a torch like here. And here, that should completely light up this platform. It did. And so what we're going to do is we're going to place this guy down right about there. And then what that will do is that will pull mana from a nearby mana pool, which is going to be powered by our hydrangeas. And it will plant randomly all of the 16 colors of mystical flower that we need for these petals, for example, all around in this 9x9 area surrounding the Jaded Amaranthus. The way that I figured this out, by the way, there is an item called the Manusia Monocle, which is this guy over here. And I will actually make this real quick because I've made it in a single player testing world and it's super useful. It lets you know just how much or how big the range is on all of your Botania flowers. So to make it, you need 3 golden nuggets, which is real easy. A mana glass, which is just some glass into the mana pool. We should have some sand left over, right? Yeah, from last episode when we did the whole soul sand thing. Somebody in the comment section did point out that we didn't have to go and get soul sand to make the glass because we did have bottles in our mob drop chest. We don't have any over here, but we do have some back over in that mob drop chest over there because I think it's like witches will occasionally drop glass bottles, so you don't have to go and get soul sand, but the soul sand and then therefore the sand after it is nice to have nonetheless, just so we can do stuff like this and make the mana glass. And then finally, let me actually quickly drop this in here whilst I'm at it. We don't quite have enough, that's fine. Let's just quickly craft up a block of charcoal and throw that down onto our ender flames like that. And whilst we're waiting for that mana to go into the mana pool, we can quickly craft up some golden nuggets. And now if we head on back over, I'm fairly certain we should have enough mana now. No, really? Not enough mana. Okay, let me drop like 1 more piece here. I know it's probably still sending mana over. It's not... Oh, there we go. Okay, good stuff. We were almost out of mana, though, which is not the best whatsoever. But we can now craft up the Manusia Monocle. And if we stick this into one of our bauble slots like that, and if you look at a flower now, it will show you the effective range. And so the ender flame will pick up fuel anywhere within this kind of multicolored range that's ever changing. And so if you were to drop it like over here, it's just outside of the range and therefore would not get picked up. And if we go and look very quickly here at the Jaded Amaranthus, after we get a little bit of food, I say food, after we get some more rotten flesh just to kind of sustain us for a few more minutes here, if we go over and look at the Jaded Amaranthus, you can see it's got a nice 9x9 area or kind of a radius of 4 starting around the Jaded Amaranthus. And so this is where it's going to put all of its flowers. And because we are almost out of mana over in our mana pool here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this in like so. That's going to clear out the mana. And for the time being, I'm just going to move this mana pool, which apparently is still getting mana from somewhere. Oh, is it still going? Apparently it is. That's fine. Let's just drop this in one more time and then pick up the mana pool and the mana tablet as well as our mana spreader. We don't have an axe. It probably is a good idea for us to make a mana steel hatchet or a mana steel axe, but for the time being, we don't really have the mana required in order to make ourselves any more mana steel. And so I guess we're just going to have to stick with the normal cobblestone pickaxes that we've been using up until now, which is fine, albeit not completely ideal. So let's take you, and let's also take you for the time being as well, because we are going to need a second mana spreader, and this one is going to have to be a pulse mana spreader. You can craft these up really easily by combining a mana spreader with a piece of redstone. That will get you a pulse mana spreader, and basically what that does is every time you give it a redstone signal, it will send out a pulse of mana. Basically anyway, you can just fire it into the void if you want, but we have a specific use for it, which I'll show you in just a few minutes here. For now, let's throw down some cobblestone there so we can put our mana pool just a little bit off the ground like that. I'm then going to put the mana spreader not there preferably. I was trying to place it on top of the torch, but I guess it's probably easier if we just do something like this. And so now we can actually place down our hydrangeas. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, and finally 4. These should automatically connect up to the mana spreader. They do, and that should start filling this pool up with mana it has. This thing is now connected to this mana pool, I believe. Let me just quickly check there. Bind and bind. It is, and you can see it is placing down all of the flowers, which is pretty cool. It means we don't have to craft up the floral fertilizer, we don't have to use all of our bone meal, and now the only thing left to do is actually automate the process of harvesting all of these flowers. Now, to do that, we're going to use a couple of items from Botania. Now, the first item that we're going to use is called the Drum of the Wild, which is this guy right here. To make this, we need 6 living wood, 1 Horn of the Wild, which is made using 5 more living wood, and a pasture seed, which is made in the mana pool with some more grass. So let's quickly just head on up and grab 1 more piece whilst we've got our shears on us. And then finally, we also need 2 pieces of leather, which we could, of course, get from cows, horses, anything like that. Also, I'm fairly certain we can craft these in the mana pool, if we have the alchemy catalyst, which unfortunately we don't have because last episode we didn't get enough blaze rods to actually make that happen. But let me quickly drop this into here. We don't quite have enough mana yet for that to happen. I'm going to get rid of our Jaded Amaranthus just for a second so we can kind of build up mana in this mana pool, because we are going to have to craft a couple of items in here, and we don't need that many flowers just yet. But in order to get this, the only really hard part that we don't have right now is leather, because we don't have any cows, we don't have any horses, and we don't have that alchemy catalyst. So what we're going to do instead is, as I mentioned a few episodes ago, we are going to make the Cocoon of Caprice, which is this guy over here, and it's made fairly easily with a mana steel ingot, a fell pumpkin, and then 7 string around it. Now, we've got a bunch of fell pumpkins left over from last episode when we were trying to make the blaze lamps and the nether portal, and of course we've got a bunch of string thanks to our mob spawner that we have. The only hard part about this is going to be the mana steel, which is going to be a little bit tricky because we don't have a whole lot of mana right now. Hopefully, we have got enough mana in here. We don't. So I think what I'm going to have to do here, guys, real quick, is grab some more cyan flowers, grab some more blue flowers, and make a couple more hydrangeas for this other kind of 3x3 water block that I've set up over here. So I'm going to go do that, guys. I'm going to set up some more hydrangeas, put them down around this, and I'll be back in a second. And not too long later, now that we have 4 more hydrangeas, we do have enough mana in our mana pool to make the mana steel ingot. And so we should now, I'm going to actually quickly make another crafting table over here so we don't have to run backwards and forwards so many times throughout the episode. But we should now have what it takes to make our first Cocoon of Caprice. And essentially, all we have to do is place this down like so. And after a few minutes, it should spawn into a passive animal, the most common of which are pigs, sheep, cows, and chickens, all of which I think have about a 19% chance of being spawned. Preferably, we're looking for a cow right now because we need those 2 pieces of leather in order to make the Drum of the Wild, but I would also kind of be content with a chicken because we can use that for a nice infinite source of feathers. Not really interested in a pig. A sheep could get us wool, but I think a pig's really the one we don't want the most. And so now it's really just kind of a waiting game. And we got a horse, of all things. I think we got like a little baby horse here. I'm not quite sure if that's going to grow any larger. I'm going to leave it for now. We could try and kill that for some leather because horses do drop leather occasionally. But I think instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to craft up another Cocoon of Caprice, which we might be able to do. I don't know if we quite have any iron ingots left at all. We don't. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go away. I'm going to put down some more stuff around this orchid, which I might have to move over to our mana pool over there. But I'm going to go away. I'm going to get some more iron. I'm going to try and make another Cocoon of Caprice. I'm going to put it down, and hopefully we get a cow. If we don't, I might make a 3rd one and a 4th one, etc., etc. We'll see how it goes. We'll also wait to see if this horse grows up, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so quite a long time later, and we have quite the farm full of animals. Unfortunately, we do not have any cows whatsoever. We've got mostly sheep. I think we've got 3 or 4 sheep. We might have another one somewhere. And we've got a rabbit. We've got 2 chickens. And of course, we have our horse. So I used a lot of our fell pumpkins. I used quite a lot of our string and our mana in this mana pool here, making mana steel. And we didn't get any cows whatsoever, which is a bit of a shame. But we did get the horse, and apparently it takes 20 minutes for Minecraft animals to fully grow up, but horses, you can speed up the growth by feeding them things like wheat. Also, I want to make a little bit of excess wheat so that we can actually eat something that's not rotten brains for once, and then therefore not get hunger and maybe stay full just a little bit longer. But I'm mostly hoping that if I kill this horse, that I will get some leather, preferably 2 pieces. That's all we need, 2 pieces of leather. We did it! We actually did it. We got 2 pieces of leather. Thank goodness. So, now that we have that, we can make, I think, the Drum of the Wild. Yes, I'm fairly certain that we have everything we need here. Let me quickly throw this grass into here to get that pasture seed. Once we've got the pasture seed, we can craft that together with some of our living wood to get the Horn of the Wild, which, by the way, does the same thing as the Drum of the Wild, but the Drum of the Wild allows you to automate it. Basically, the Horn of the Wild, if you right-click with it, will break all of the flowers around, but it won't break the flowers we want to keep. It won't break the hydrangeas, it won't break the orchids, and it won't break the Jaded Amaranthus. You can also use it to harvest things like wheat, which is also useful for automation later on down the line. And also, we now have an inventory that is full of flowers that I do not want to have. So let me quickly dump all of these into this chest here. Don't want you. We could probably get rid of the hydrangeas, but I'll keep a hold of them for now, just in case I need to replace one last minute. That looks fine. But now that we have the Horn of the Wild, we can craft that together with some more living wood, as well as the leather to make the Drum of the Wild, which, for now, I'm going to place right... Ooh, that's not what I wanted to do at all. Let's take that off. We're going to place this right above where the Jaded Amaranthus is going to go. So I'm going to place this thing right about there, like that. And basically, this thing does exactly what the Horn of the Wild does, but you can send a mana pulse to it to activate it. And that is exactly where our pulse mana spreader comes into play. So, I think here I'm going to have to place this. Is it right there? It is. Okay, so let's... Oh gosh, no, don't do this. Don't do this. You don't want to do this. No. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Whew. Alright, flip them. We get so many Endermen down here. They keep dying whenever I go and throw fuel on the Ender Flames upstairs. But let's get rid of this. Let's put down a pulse mana spreader like that. And so now if we were to put like a lever here and flick this, it would send a beam over to this and it would break any flowers that are down around it. But of course, that's kind of manual and we do want to automate this. And that is where the hovering hourglass comes in. This is basically a Botania timer. And it's made fairly easily with 1 mana steel ingot, 4 golden ingots, 2 pieces of mana glass, and 2 redstone. I think the only thing that I am missing from there is the iron to make the mana steel ingot, because we used so much iron at making all of those Cocoons of Caprice. Thankfully, we do have 4 golden ingots, and so we can get those. We've got 2 redstone, so we can take those. We've got some sand, so we can make that into glass, and then therefore mana glass after the fact. Do we have any fuel? We do. Throw you in there. Whilst we're waiting for that, do I have any stone left? I don't. So I'm going to have to quickly smelt up a little bit of stone here to hope to get some iron from our orchid. And then once we've got that, the final piece of the puzzle is another one of the hopperhocks. And whilst I was waiting for my Cocoons of Caprice, I did build a wall around the new platform so that our animals didn't fall off the edge or die. And also so I didn't fall off the edge and die. And I also got all of the things required to make the hopperhock. You can see I have them here in my inventory. Yep, I do have them all. There looks to be more items here because they separate the petals, and I was looking and I didn't quite think I had everything we needed there. And also this is where I was growing the wheat, by the way. But let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. And then a seed, kapow, gets us our other hopperhock. This is now done. This is also done. Hopefully one of these 4 pieces of stone will be iron, but knowing my luck, it will almost definitely be all coal. Thankfully, we did get a piece of iron, which is good. Let's take this. Let's quickly smelt it up. Then drop it in the mana pool with our 2 pieces of glass. 1, 2, there we go. And, oh, did we get that second piece of glass? No. But we do have enough mana. We just need to get it in correctly, which I can't do with this mana spreader on top of it. The mana spreader, there we go, it doesn't have to be on top, it's just that it's in line with the drum. We could, I guess, put it here and then just orientate it to be pointing at the drum, but for now, this is fine. We should now be able to craft all of this stuff together, and if memory serves me right, it looks something a little bit like this. Nice. So we'll take that, and essentially, the way that the hovering hourglass works is you put it down, and then you use sand in order to determine how long you want the timer to go on for. So for example, if we put these 2 pieces of sand into it, every 2 seconds, it would send out a redstone signal, which is a little bit too frequent. You can use soul sand, and I am going to use soul sand, mostly because we don't have any normal sand, although, you know what? No, I'm not, because soul sand defaults to 1 minute, so if you put 1 piece of soul sand in the hovering hourglass, it will last 1 minute. I'm going to put down pretty much all of this, and I think I might put my timer on about 8 seconds, because the more frequently that you have the timer run, the more pulses that it sends out, and therefore the more mana that you're using. But if you leave it too long, and a bunch of flowers get here, when it breaks, when I was testing it off camera, it causes quite a bit of lag if there's like 50 or like 81 flowers all over the floor here. And so I want it to be somewhat regular. We're going to put this down right there. It's going to send the redstone signal when it's ready. Just as kind of an example here, let's put this back down. That should start to produce flowers any second. It does. Actually, we'll wait a second here because this sand is almost done. Our hopper hog is also done. And so let me quickly craft up a chest like so. We'll stick this down pretty much anywhere around the outskirts here, and I think I am going to power this hopper hog, unlike the one upstairs that we didn't power. So let's grab our rod of the lands. I guess we could put it like right there. If we put this down, I think it will automatically connect up to the mana pool. Let me just quickly check here with my wand of the forest. It has, and I think that also gives it almost enough reach to pick up pretty much everything around here. It might not be able to pick up that yellow flower in the very far distance there. So you know what? I'm just going to quickly push it back by one block. We're going to put it right about there. We'll put the chest right next to it, like so. It's still connected to the mana pool, so it will be faster and it will have a larger range. And now all we have to do is get our sand and we should be good to go. Our fully automated system should be complete. Do we have a shovel? We do. Let me pick up all of the sand. I'm just going to use 8. I might use all 10 actually, just because 10 seconds is a little bit slower than 8 seconds. I kind of want to find a balance. I'm not quite sure what that balance is, but right here we're going to see a lot of flowers break and probably a bit of a frame rate dip, but I will put you in like that. This thing should have enough mana to send over a pulse, almost certainly, and this thing should be full of mana as well. It is. Any second now, you can see there it's 10 seconds. Everything should get broken. Pulse gets sent out. Not everything broke, but most things broke. And then the hopper hog picks them all up, puts them in the chest, and we now have a fully automated way of planting, harvesting, and just collecting all of these flowers, which is going to be really useful going forward for getting a bunch of flowers set up. It means that we don't have to do it all manually, which is really nice indeed. One final thing that we should do here, just to make this a little bit more efficient, is craft up the mana lens of the messenger. This thing is made with 4 paper and 1 mana lens, which is a piece of glass, and then 4 mana steel ingots. But basically, mana lenses go on the front of spreaders, so we can put it down right here on the front. And if we look inside of the Lexicon Botania real quick, and we look up the mana lens for the messenger, just type in lens, mana lenses, over a few pages, and this one, the messenger lens massively decreases the amount of mana a burst of mana carries and also drastically increases the burst's speed and maximum distance. This can be very useful for interactions with blocks such as the Drum of the Wild. And so basically it just uses less mana every time it sends over a pulse to tell the Drum of the Wild to break all of the stuff, making it just a little bit more efficient. It looks like our hopper hog can't quite reach back to here, so it can't pick those up. I really thought, maybe it's because it doesn't have any mana in it, but I really thought it would be able to reach back there, although we might have to move it back just one more, like if we put it down here. I'm hoping that might be able to reach everything, possibly. We are going to get a lot of flowers here, which is not really what I wanted, but that's fine. We'll throw you down like that. And so what I'm going to do, guys, here real quick is I'm going to go away one more time. Can I not place that there? I can't. Hold on. Let me try this one more time. Let's do this just to make it a bit easier. Kapow. What I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go away real quick. I'm going to get some more stone to put down around our orchid here. Once we get 4 more iron, I'm going to turn it into the mana steel. I'm also going to use the same method we did last episode of getting sugarcane. I'm going to throw a block of hay bale into the mana pool to get some sugarcane. I will then probably plant that sugarcane over here, I would think, just so I can get rid of this and put down dirt instead like that. And I didn't mean to pick this up, but that's fine. And then put down dirt and then put the sugarcane on there. Once we've got enough sugarcane to make the paper, I'll be back and we'll craft up the lens. Alright, so it turns out that sugarcane actually takes quite a long time to grow. According to the wiki, about 18 minutes to grow a single piece of sugarcane. And so instead, I decided to use our excess bone meal, seeds, and mana to just make 6 sugarcane from 6 hay bales. And so what we should be able to do now is craft all of those up into 6 pieces of paper. We only need the 4 for the lens, but having 2 extra isn't going to hurt. We've got 4 iron in here, as well as the 1 piece of glass that we need in there. And so if we head on back over now to our mana pool, hopefully we have not drained it so much so that we cannot make 4 of these mana steel ingots we have. Oh my goodness, okay. And so instead, what we're going to have to do drop that in there. That's going to get us the glass, but the glass is probably going to get picked up by the Hopper Hawk. It has. Whilst we wait for our mana pool to slowly replenish a little bit then, one problem that I have noticed is that the Hopper Hawk upstairs, the one for our mob farm, has connected itself to the mana pool downstairs and is draining mana and also picking up flowers from our farm down here. And so what I'm going to do real quick is craft up another mana pool that we're going to put down up here, and we're basically going to leave it empty because I do not want the Hopper Hawk that is up here to have a wide enough range to collect the flowers that are down below, and I also don't really want it using mana where possible. You can see it does have the little tick next to the mana pool, and it's connected to that one down there. And so what we're going to do, we're going to put down a mana pool like this. We're going to make sure our wand is in bind mode. It is. You can shift right click to change it, by the way. Bind mode, and then we're just shift right click here to here. Like that. So it is now connected, but it's not going to use any mana whatsoever. And also, once it does run out of mana, you can see it's been picking up flowers over here. Once it does run out of mana, I'm hoping that its range will kind of shrink, and it'll only pick up stuff in the nearby area, and it'll stop using the mana downstairs, and it'll stop picking up the flowers down there as well. And so, guys, what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to go away real quick. I'm going to wait until we have enough mana to make 4 mana steel ingots, and I'll be back again in a second. And finally, not too long later, we now have all of the mana steel that we need to come over here and craft up what we're after, but it's all in there. Whoa, hold on. I think I did put all 4 pieces of iron in there, but I'm going to assume that a few of them probably still got picked up by the Hopper Hawk upstairs. Alright, let's try this again. 4 pieces of mana steel, like so. Piece of mana glass in the middle. Take that out once. Is that not how that's done? Is it just normal glass? Hold on here. It's just a normal piece of glass. Okay, hold on one more second then. I guess in that case then, we're going to have to use one of our 10 sand that we did have in the Hourglass, but I took out temporarily to get some mana back for the mana steel. Instead, we'll just smelt up a normal piece of glass. I'm sure we'll find a use for that mana glass at some point in the future. But for now, let us grab a normal piece of glass. Try this one more time. I'm fairly certain that we have it now. Stick it in the middle of our 4 mana steel like so. Surround that with some paper like that. And then stick the mana lens on the front of our mana spreader like that. And so now it will send less mana from this mana pool every time that it triggers the Drum of the Wild. All we have to do, put our sand back in like so, and we have a fully automated, somewhat more efficient flower generation and harvesting system. And so I am going to go into the Lexicon Botania and tick off this first challenge right here. Mark completed. We haven't quite got the bonus points for sorting the flowers, and we might come back and do that at some point in the future, but we have done the core of the quest, which is to set up a flower farm for all 16 colors of Botania flowers. And if we look in this chest over here, you can see that we now have a ton of all the different colors of Botania flowers. And this isn't even including the ones that we have upstairs from the other Hopper Hawk that we don't really want to be picking up our stuff, but is nevertheless. And also, it should now be really easy for us to make some more hydrangeas before the start of next episode, because we've got a bunch of mystical blue flowers and a bunch of mystical cyan flowers and an unlimited source of both of those going forward. And with that, guys, I'm going to end this episode of Gardens of Glass there. As always, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to like. It really does help out a lot. Subscribe and ding that bell to be the first to be notified when new videos go out. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.